A ballerina's perspective, from performing with New York City Ballet and Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to publishing poetry books and mentoring kids and teens. Join us in a weekly discussion with experts to gain mental health clarity and achieve growth in moral consciousness. Give our show a 5 stars, comment, share, and come along for the ride. Welcome to the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast. And today we will be discussing a little bit about triggers, mirroring, and the journey to spiritual cognitive integration with Royce, an accomplished transformational facilitator who has been teaching groundbreaking spiritually based courses and neutralizing the origins of self-sabotaging, limiting programming for more than 4 decades. The creator of the Perfect Life Awakening program and author, podcaster, writer, contributing columnist, and social media influencer. She's the host of 2 live podcasts on OM Times Media, Perfect Life Awakening, and It's All Mirrors. Her website, Perfect Life Awakening, and social channels have reached over 50,000 followers. So, welcome to the podcast. So excited to chat today.
Thank you so much. Me too.
It's so awesome about this whole topic of spiritual cognition integration, and for people who don't understand or who aren't really fully aware of this process, can you explain a little bit what it's about?
Sure. I find that most people, whether they're conscious of it or not, are so often in a triggered state. And the triggering really comes from our subconscious. We carry a lot of subconscious baggage with us from this life and past lives and between lives and you name it.
If you're ready to shake off that daily stress, come join us for online beginner, adult, ballet, and yoga classes each week to connect with the flow of movement and the art of ballet into perfect synergy. Come as you are and learn to love your body a little bit more and gain strength and flexibility with each class. All are welcome. Sign up at balletartsmovement@gmail.com. First class free.
And what my work does, it helps people get to the origins of those triggers and dissolve them, neutralize them, so that they can be in the same situation they were in that was triggering and it doesn't have any negative impact on them. It's a deep inner process that I do with people. I do call it spiritual cognition integration because it really is spiritually based. And it's miraculous. It never ceases to amaze me to see what happens in people's lives from doing that work.
That's amazing. And it just reminds me of the whole journey of spiritual integration and healing. I started coaching clients who wanted to work on their wounds, and oftentimes it always connects back to childhood or some kind of traumatic event that happened with her relationships. And we always go back to the theme of self-sabotage. And I think you also mentioned self-sabotage, and that's such a key theme. And I think the root of that is the fear of failure. And sometimes it can be even subconscious, because consciously we could be telling ourselves that we were fine and we're just totally accepting of failure. But I think there is a subconscious note to many people who are unaware of that. Do you think that's a fair assumption?
Actually, I find that it goes even deeper than that. It's not fear of failure, it's fear of success and fear of love, fear of change, all of those positive things that are triggering us that go beneath the surface of, well, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. So the self-sabotage issue comes from part of us that says, I don't deserve to succeed. So as long as I sabotage myself, I don't have to succeed. And then I can just feel like a victim and go through life and go, oh, poor me, I never succeeded. So it goes really deep in us. I, I would say that the core of who we are is that particular issue that I don't deserve love. I don't deserve to succeed. I don't deserve to be who I am. I don't deserve to do my purpose here. So that's where it goes to when I work with people and then we get, again, under that surface level.
Interesting. And why do you think the core is the positive aspects of love and success and abundance?
because it goes back down to decisions that we made about ourselves as not being deserving. So, if I arrive here and I feel like, gosh, I did something horrible to my parents because now they're poor and now they have to struggle because I'm here. And I made a decision about myself that, I better stay really powerless, because if I'm powerful and deserving, that wouldn't work in this family, because I've got to keep myself down to to make things easier for them. I mean, it's a silly example, but there's a lot of decisions that we make about ourselves when we do things that we believe cause pain and harm.
Unlock your best life with Soul app. Book a holistic wellness experience with a trained guide and start changing your life today with compassion practices, inner healing, food and diet, and so much more. Tap into a healthier and happier life with the #1 purposeful living app in the US, the Soul app. Link in the description of the podcast.
So, yeah, it all goes down to that when I'm doing inner work with people, and it's hard to find those things. We really suppress them, which is why I talk about mirroring. I'm sure you're going to get into that question, but one of the primary things that I help people to see is what's being reflected to them that they're in denial of. So I have this silly example, but it really helps. Mirroring is kind of like if you imagine a seesaw and you see the seesaw, one side gets pushed down, the other side comes up. It's the same thing with us. If I push down all of those things that I did that I feel bad about, like I caused pain and loss, I'm terrible. If I push that down, the universe, being a yes machine, and you cannot suppress energy, it has to come up somewhere else. So it comes up with people pushing my buttons and triggering me and showing me that, wow, I guess I really do feel like a failure. What is that about? So we go through life and these mirrors are in our face, trying to wake us up and remember what we did that we're still beating ourselves up about and feeling undeserving because of. So that's what mirroring is in a nutshell. And I go into that repeatedly because nobody likes it. Everybody wants to think, oh, poor me. But truly, we've pushed something down about ourselves and it's being reflected so we can wake up and remember and clean it up in some way, get our power back.
Sanger Daniels' online seminar promoting a positive message of self-healing with bioenergy work together with live seminars and remote coaching. Use code BIO20 for a 20% discount for our audience. Link in the description of the podcast. Exactly, that's amazing. And mirroring is such a great way to also shift timelines. It takes you into that direct accessibility of presence. And when we're able to kind of see those different elements of our psyche in a way reflected back to us, I think that's how we can manifest newer, higher timelines. And I think the goal for many people is to reach those higher timelines and to kind of release and clear out those seemingly repetitive, stagnant timelines. So, what are some proactive, practical tools to help people reach and maintain those higher levels of consciousness?
Well, it really goes down to awareness. So if you find yourself having a button pushed, or you're feeling judgmental, or you're argumentative, or you're trying to make somebody wrong, all those triggers, they show up in different ways. So if you're observant and conscious of when you're triggered, and it gets pretty easy with practice, and you stop trying to put it onto somebody else and you realize, oh, they're showing me a mirror.
TeloVital supports focus, energy, immunity, sleep, recovery, and resilience. Start feeling better today on a cellular level with zeolite, super green juice, micronutrient gut support, and more. Get over 50% off your first order for TeloVital. Link in the description of the podcast.
Things can shift just in a moment. Of course, you've got to get down to the origins of it to have it be a permanent shift. But I've had amazing results just in the moment of seeing, oh, that's a trigger. Oh, okay, what is that about for me? What am I suppressing in myself that this person is showing me? And the minute I get it, it's like, oh, Oh, I don't have to be pissed at them anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like sometimes even like I recall like connecting with the same friendships or the same groups of friends and feeling that like pressure and feeling like overly triggered. And that may also be a lesson to maybe make you realize that it's not in alignment with your current or future reality, because those consistent triggers that make you feel so uncomfortable and make you feel that you're not in tune with your own self, I think it's also a message to look deeper within. Because when that happened to me, I was trying to figure out like why is that happening? Because I still felt that I was the same, but I guess I was just shifting, but I wasn't fully consciously aware of that. But consciously the conversations stopped flowing, and it wasn't like a one-time thing, it was consistently, it wasn't reaching that unifying vibe that everyone wants to feel when they're surrounded by the friend group. And I think it's also like when you're connecting with people, sometimes they can reveal to you if you're misaligned even with them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And definitely misaligned with your purpose. I think that ultimately mirrors are the best teachers we have to wake us up to what our true purpose is and to feel deserving of manifesting it or manifesting whatever it is you want in life. If things aren't manifesting or friendships are going awry, whatever it is, there's something that's going on inside of you that's being reflected. I can't emphasize that enough. Yeah.
ClickFunnels easily build any type of online business and sales funnel in record time, no matter what your product, service, or niche, without any tech design or experience whatsoever. Try the ClickFunnels 14-day free trial, link in the description of the podcast. I know my friend who she was getting fired from her job and she was trying to look for a new job, and like she just couldn't find a new job, and she was trying to apply but nothing was working, and she felt like she was going in circles, and finally she stopped and she kind of like surrendered to the universe to be like, okay, well obviously it's not working, I'm trying my best right now, so I'm gonna see what happens if I stop freaking out and going in this obsessive need to constantly be on the grind mentality. And she kind of detached from the obsessive journey, and she went within and she started doing inner child healing, and she started doing things that had nothing to do with pushing herself so hard to prove that she's worthy of having a job, but just to express herself, because she wasn't even able to fully express herself as she wanted to as an adult. So she was going deep into her inner child and connecting to those roots. And it's interesting how she was able to carve out a niche where she was starting to do drawings, starting to get clients who wanted to connect with her and buy her art. So that journey is so interesting when we do take a step back and we try to figure out what's our purpose, what's our passion, and how to reconnect to that inner child. It feels so beautiful, and also so like it connects you to your self-worth in a way, like connecting to that inner child innocence.
Yeah, I talk about it in terms of our spirit, that our spirit knows why we chose to be here. And if we're not following the path that we chose, if we veered off for whatever reason, maybe financially, or we're too afraid to do what we came here to do, nothing works. There's stoppages all the time. There's struggle. There's issues, we get fired, whatever it is that happens. But basically, it's our higher self, our spirit saying, you're not supposed to be doing that. So, yeah, the universe, again, is an amazing yes machine. It will tell you what you are supposed to be doing if you listen to it, you know, and we've
Yes,
got to
what are
listen
some,
to it eventually.
yeah, yeah, and what are some signs for people who do want to connect to that inner voice and inner spirit? What should they look out for?
Well, like I said, things not working. That's a really big clue. Um, I'll give you my own personal story. I was going through a really interesting time in my life where I discovered what soulmate love is really about. And my higher self, my guides, my teachers, my knowingness said, Royce, you're supposed to write a book about this. And I said, I'm not a writer. What? Huh? No, no way. And I fought it every inch of the way. And then all of a sudden one day, out of the blue, my hands became unusable. Literally, I couldn't move my fingers. And so I went into a meditative state and I asked, okay, what's going on here? And my higher self said, it's because you're not writing the book. And I said, but I can't write the book because I can't move my fingers. And they said, you know what? Sit down at your computer, see what happens. So I sat down at my computer and I literally felt my hands relax and I was able to start writing the book. And every time I would, be afraid to continue, or that little voice would say, oh no, you're not a writer, my hands would start to hurt. And I would sit down and the pain would go away. So our bodies are trying to tell us all the time too, you know. And those people that can kind of get dropped in your life that give you messages, and it's just a matter of awareness because the universe is constantly trying to show us the truth, constantly trying to lead us where we're supposed to go.
That's fantastic. Yes, that's so interesting how we connect to like our higher selves in a way
Yeah.
that makes us feel so spiritually in tune with ourselves. And it is such a beautiful gift to have that awareness and to be in that presence of flow. I think that's like the greatest Zen feeling because that flow is our soul yearning to be aligned within ourselves, flowing through
Yeah.
the universe. That's a beautiful message and story. And about soulmates, I think that that's a wonderful topic because so many people are on the journey thinking about, love and connection and the idea of soulmates. Some people believe there's one soulmate. Some people believe there's a different soulmate at every level of ascension. What is your take on soulmates in terms of like the spiritual world?
Well, I did end up writing a whole book about it. And it's
That's
actually being made,
fantastic.
I know, it's actually being made into a screenplay right now. But my
Amazing.
feeling about soulmates is that, yes, there is one, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that person needs to be your lover, your husband, your wife, walking arm in arm off into the sunset. They could take various forms because what their purpose ultimately is to wake you up and get help you get your power back. And you might be doing that for each other in some way. You might be like the world's biggest mirrors for each other. Push all your buttons so that you really get it. That could be what they've chosen to do in this life for you. Sometimes soulmates are your lovers or your mates, or they could be your mother, they could be your child, they could be anybody. But it's all about how are they helping you wake up and remember who you really are. And it was quite a journey, let me tell you. It took me quite a while to get to that place.
Podpitch is the first and only software that finds, writes, and sends pitches to podcast hosts from your actual email address. Podpitch will make sure you get podcast bookings, guaranteed. Link in the description of the podcast. That's amazing. Yeah, I think that realization of putting a label on something and describing it as soulmate also gives
Yeah.
you a huge responsibility of that realization of consciousness to kind of reestablish your personal attachment styles, because I remember going through my spiritual journey thinking about soulmates, and putting a strong label on that expectation also plays with your own belief system, and it goes really deep into the core of your own awareness of the meaning of life. So it goes onto this journey of faith and trust and purpose. So it is a very beautiful and sacred journey, hopefully just giving you some clarity back to your own consciousness at the end of the day.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and to let go, again, to kind of let go of the expectation that this person is going to fulfill you and, be the perfect person in your life. They are to some degree because they're your best teacher, but don't have the expectation that it's going to be this, wine and candlelight and walking arm in arm off into the sunset, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And it's also like knowing your kind of what you're looking for, and even writing it down. I tell my clients who are working on their inner child, wanting to attract their partner, it's okay to want things, and you have to also be clear on what you want and why you want it, not just, following the crowd and following everybody that you see on social media that's presenting themselves as perfection, as idyllic. It's like knowing what you want is also going back to like having fear of succeeding in love. That's a huge risk to take, and that's also to have the awareness that you deserve it. It's also a big part of the journey. So I think like knowing what you want, I think to begin with, it's a really crucial step to figuring out
Yeah.
like how to connect with people, how to have boundaries for others, for yourself. And it's a journey. It's all a journey.
Yeah, and to trust that you're going to attract the perfect person because they're going to be your best mirror. Definitely. And they'll bring up fear of having love, like I was saying before. My husband and I took 3 weeks to get married, and it was pretty amazing. There we
Wow.
are on our honeymoon night, and all of a sudden I looked at him and I said, "Oh my God, what have I done? 3 weeks and we're getting married? This is insane." I started to freak out. And luckily, my husband is very aware. And he said, "Okay, so let's figure out what's going on. What's the fear?" And when we talked about it for a while, I realized that I don't deserve to have such amazing, perfect love arrive in my life after 3 weeks. What? What? And it was all about not deserving to be loved. And thank God I realized that. Otherwise, we would have split up right then. So it's really important. It's a really big key. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And it also kind of has that polarity of flowing versus hard work. We think that we have to do always hard work in order to achieve something great. And when it's easy, and when it's completely flowing, and that's also like shocking to our system to be like, wait, don't I have to work harder? Shouldn't it be more complicated and difficult and challenging? What's going on here? Do we have to be suspicious about this? Because it's like we also have been triggered and betrayed and hurt in the past. So that healing journey is also kind of playing with our inner child, like testing us to see if flow actually is true.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And interestingly enough, going on the journey of expressing yourself and, like you mentioned, channeling your book, which is so beautiful, today is a National Great Poetry Reading Day. So, like, that alignment of
Really.
connecting with your inner child and, yeah, expressing yourself through that form of art, I think it's so beautiful. And I think the more we tell ourselves to allow us to connect with that part of ourselves, it's so healing and beautiful. And I feel like writing, expressing yourself through writing, is such a form of poetry because it's kind of like you're channeling the words, you're channeling energy into words, into matter, and that's so like beautiful and spiritual.
Yeah. Especially since I had no choice. It's like, you must write. Yeah. Eventually, it
That's
became easier. It
amazing. Yes.
became more natural to me. And I wrote two other books after that. So, and I'm working on one now. So, yeah, it's a lot easier now. I do trust it.
Fantastic. And I think that shift from like the obsession of the ego leading and making the choices to the soul making the choices, I think that's where it's important to make that alignment. Do you think that's also like a big part of shifting from the ego to the soul to kind of figure out your
Yeah,
like spiritual purpose and path?
definitely. Yes. Yeah. And it does take as long as it takes. And it took years for me to really trust my writing and to think that it was I'm still afraid to say good, but decent. And people have said that it is good. So, I trust that too. Yeah.
That's amazing. And where can people connect with you and buy all your amazing books and see your content?
Well, my website is roycemorales.com, And the name of my course, my program is called Perfect Life Awakening. Right now, I'm having trouble with my connecting with my. I have a new website, so for some reason we can't connect the Perfect Life Awakening to it, but you can find it through roycemorales.com. I also am in the process of working with a literary agent, and she's trying to sell one of my latest books. And for whatever reason, when you work with a publisher, they want you to take all your books off of Amazon. So right now, you can't buy my books, but you can definitely sign up for my program, and I start classes all the time. So
That's fantastic. That's so exciting. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Royce, with a beautiful conversation about integration, healing, spiritual awareness, soulmates. I'm sure our listeners are going to love this and dive into it and be so excited to reconnect to their soul fragments to find purpose.
great. Thank you so much. And I forgot to mention that I do have a Substack. It's called Royce's Ramblings, where I write once a week and I share a lot of stories and interesting concepts on that Substack. So, yes, thank you so much for having
Wonderful.
me, Ari. This was great.